How are you doing?
I would know how to do it.
I'm working on my tan. Shit, I took my shorts off. Yes. Just because I get a chance to say hi to you. Doing all right.
I'll be there. Thank you.
Yeah, you sent out the email. I really
want to get it. 2 minutes.
What's happening? You want to?
Sure.
I'm not going to do that on the work session. Good. That's like week. What is it?
Meeting
It's for me. Yes. Although we had graduation dress up, about that. John. Graduation, John night. Yeah, should be opening soon.
Oh, that's right, it's John. I'm sorry.
now I'm just
Yeah, that's what it is.
They did more.
Huh?
The last Did you say? So I was playing with the dog earlier, and I got his mark right here. Up through, because it looks like a kiss apparently.
Yeah. It looks like my
Yeah, it was more like a dog that went right there. Are we on?
We are.
Okay. Welcome everybody. We are here for the Tuesday night council meeting. First off, if we could just stand for the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nathan, if you could give us a prayer, please.
Heavenly Father, we ask for your wisdom and guidance over our meeting tonight. We ask for your favor and protection over our city employees and our police officers. We pray that you help us all be the best servants to our community we can be. We pray for your continued favor and blessings over our city, our state, and this great nation. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting? Yes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? A motion from Crystal. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Bob. All in favor, running down the line?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Has everyone had an opportunity to review the treasury report?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to accept the treasury report?
Motion.
I have a motion from Sylvia. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Gabe. All in favor, down the line?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, thank you. Library report.
For the month of May, we had 33 patrons and checked out 16 books.
Thank you, Renee. I wanted to take a moment right here, Bob. Okay. Bob continues to work and different programs. A month ago or so, we had the Reading with Reptiles. He has a program that he's trying to support for resilient kids. Yes. He has a program that he's trying to get for us English as second language speakers for adults,
Yes.
as well as kids if needed.
Yes.
And all these have to do with our library, so I think it's appropriate. Would you mind speaking for maybe a short minute on each of these programs?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay. So first and foremost, we have Resilient Kids. So that is an 18-month grant that I wrote for and fortunately received, where this program is going to help us as a community come together and provide resources and also training for family members, HOAs, the schools, again, the community, on certain assets that when these kids have them, they absolutely thrive from childhood, adolescence into adulthood. And so this Thursday evening, we're going to have the first of 2 meetings, but this Thursday evening, it's only 2 hours. It's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it's...
Who's invited to that?
Everybody that we want to be involved, actively involved, right? So whether they're members of the Rotary Club, Kiwanis, elementary schools, churches, the influencers, the ones who are compassionate and passionate about serving in the community. And this is designed to empower families and empower Pendergrass. I'm very, very excited about this. Again, everyone can see exactly what we have. It's Resilient Kids, and instead of S's, in this case, they've got Z's. So REZILIENTKIDZ.com, I believe. And then, again, feel free to look up position statements. It's all the way down at the bottom, but they've got access to all the PDFs. So again, it's an open program, so you can actually read what we're going to be involved with. And then as far as the reading classes, that's a separate program. That is through La Amistad, helping to provide the books and the resources. But again, that's going to require our community stepping up. So teachers, former teachers, those who like to teach, those who want to teach, they're more than welcome to come in, and we're going to use the library as a resource. Again, it's to make people feel welcome and comfortable and provide a safe space for them to learn. It's obviously teaching them English, but it's not just with the Hispanic focus. There are people from all over the world that are here in Pendergrass. So whether they're Japanese, Korean, Hispanic, Indonesian, Eurasian, whatever, they're more than welcome to come in and learn English.
I believe
that starts July 15th.
I believe at the graduation for elementary school, they said that there's, and I probably have that stat wrong, 23 different languages and as many or more countries represented.
Yes, yeah, I remember that too. I was blown away by that. Now, I know that North Jackson Elementary already has a program, which I just learned about in the past month. So I'm happy to recommend that one as well. But this one will be Monday and Wednesday evenings, or I believe Tuesdays and Thursday days, right? That's convenient for you.
Yes.
And then possibly a Saturday as well. So, but those classes will begin July 15th, and then it's designed again for those who want to learn English. Yes, Kate.
What materials do you have that you can give us to
I'll email
take
you.
to our neighborhood?
Absolutely. I've got certain PDFs on that. I thought I sent those to you already, but I'll send them out again.
Okay.
So yeah, La Amistad is well
We'll
established.
print them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you sent them out, but it had, the date
Some
has
of it,
been
yeah.
updated.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sure. All right, no problem. But I'm happy to send those out
So we'll
again.
print them out and go ahead and get them.
Yes, yeah. And then from those who are who have a teacher's background, I think what is it, Cambridge Connect, Cambridge something or other. I don't know. It's an official book, and so that way there's a curriculum involved. So there's actual structure to this program, and so La Amistad has been running it for years and years and years in the Metro Atlanta area. It works for them, and I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but I wanted it to happen here at the library because I love libraries. So I'm going to do everything I can to, again, bring people in. And then we also talked about the Pendergrass Pet Prom, but that won't happen until this fall, based on the low-cost pet vaccination. And then with Planned Parenthood, that one would be free and sponsored. But they've got a big thing happening in Athens this weekend or next if we want to go check it out. There's a large park. It's not Sandy Creek. It's the other large park in Athens where they're doing it. So we can actually see what it's like there.
Okay.
So those are what I have on the agenda for right now. And then, of course, 4th of July. Excited about that.
Speaking of 4th of July, Renee, let's get an update.
Okay. We'll have our 4th of July event on July the 6th from 5 to 10. We'll have inflatables for the kids, vendors. We're bringing back the dunk tank.
We're bringing back the dunk tank.
We're bringing it back.
Dunk the mayor?
We can do that.
Dunk the mayor's a great idea. All in favor?
You're already.
I guess I've been voluntold.
So we'll have some games for the kids and for the adults as well, and we'll finish with fireworks.
I think maybe we'll give a more in-depth plan, maybe as a work session or something like that.
Okay,
for
yeah, we can do
June,
more.
and let people know what vendors, our band that's coming, and all that kind of stuff. We'll kind of have that all, should be pretty much in stone.
Finalized by then.
Yes.
Yes.
On to new business. Since we didn't have a work session this month, we're going to both do a discussion and reading of this, if we so choose. First things first is an ordinance to restrict commercial and heavy equipment vehicle parking in residential zone districts. At this point, were there any questions or discussions that needed to take place after reading this ordinance?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I did talk to Rob about it, because I was questioning whether or not, police vehicles from other cities, would they be banned from as well, because they're considered technically commercial vehicles?
No. All law enforcement and emergency service vehicles would be allowed. And if that needs to be stipulated, we can have that stipulation.
I'm somewhat curious about this, because again, if we get into the, like you said, the semi-trailers, I mean, Pendergrass has, we've got trucking and logistics all over the place.
Sure.
So, from what I understand, it's, if they've got 5 or more acres that they're permitted, are there ways for them to get approved, or is it just they're being restricted, period?
Anything less than a 5-acre tract?
Yeah.
Well, in Pendergrass, there's not too many of us.
Okay.
And so essentially this is not letting you park your semi inside of subdivisions.
I get that. I'm just talking about like the places that are not HOAs, where, they do have their own 18-wheelers or their own trucks, that sort of thing. I mean, we got farms, we got all this stuff. I just want to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, like I said, as far as any tracts that are smaller than 5 acres, they don't have semi-trailers.
Okay.
Now, there are tracts that are smaller that aren't farms, that are holding large machinery cars and other earth movers and
Right.
so on and so forth.
But then they're going to move them to regular parking sites or something like that.
Yeah, like, what options do they have to park? Just so, I'm like, I understand, I get it, we don't want an 18-wheeler parked in our subdivision, but what options do they have? Do they go up the street to the storage place to park their vehicle, or?
Yeah. Is there any other discussion?
And I'm assuming it's marked vehicles, like, because it says limousine or SUVs, whatever they're transporting, if it's marked, wrapped, whatever. You can't get it in your garage and hide it, can't be parked outside.
That's the way that this is reading currently. Yeah. So again, if there needs to be amendments to the way that this is worded, this is the time to kind of approach this. And we will have another work session on this
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion about this. This reads to me like you're looking at HVAC, you're looking at electric, you're looking at plumbing, you're looking at literally,
Anyway, like the guy down the street that works for, Xfinity and parks his
Yep,
work truck,
absolutely.
that's his work truck.
yep, and that counts.
Yeah, a lot of pissed off people.
Yeah. Right now,
This is just a
Yeah, working.
first draft ordinance, right? Which is why we're doing this.
I think that's
Whatever these type of things, let's make sure that we're coming with the appropriate notes, and then we can continue the discussion further, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other discussions on this? Okay. I'm gonna turn it to Paula
For the first read.
for the first reading.
This would be ordinance number 062502. It's an ordinance of the city of Pendergrass, Georgia, to restrict commercial vehicle parking to include limousines, flatbed trucks, dump trucks, tow trucks, transport wreckers, tandem axle trucks, cab or chassis trucks, commercial tractor trailers, wheel detachments or trailers, buses, earth moving machinery, semi-trailers, and any vehicle over 20 feet in length or 7 feet in height in residential areas, and repealing all conflicting ordinances and setting an effective date. Whereas the governing authority of each municipal corporation shall have the legislative power to adopt clearly reasonable ordinances, resolutions, or regulations relating to its property affairs and local government for which no provision has been made by general law, and which are consistent with the Constitution or any charter provision applicable thereto. And whereas the parking of commercial and heavy equipment vehicles in residential areas is only acceptable under certain limited circumstances, and whereas the city of Pendergrass has adopted ordinances, regulations to help protect neighborhood character, health, safety, and property values, and whereas in order to preserve the residential character of the neighborhood, the parking of commercial vehicles should be restricted or prohibited depending on such circumstances. Now therefore it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the city of Pendergrass, Georgia, as follows. Section 1, the city of Pendergrass city ordinances shall now include the following. Number 94, commercial vehicle and heavy construction vehicle and other vehicle parking prohibited. Section 1, the commercial heavy duty and other vehicle parking. A, in any commercial or office zoning district, delivery service vehicles and vehicles displaying advertising must be parked within the side or rear yard and may not be parked within the front yard except vehicles parked temporarily while making a delivery, providing a service, or purchasing goods or services. In all residential zoning districts, both the on-street and off-street parking of the following vehicles are prohibited: limousines, flatbed trucks, dump trucks, tow trucks, transport wreckers, tandem axle trucks, cab or chassis trucks, commercial tractor trailers, wheel detachments or trailers, buses, earth-moving machinery, semi-trailers, and any vehicle over 20 feet in length or 7 feet in height or 5 feet in width. Vehicles or equipment used for agricultural purposes on any agricultural zone properties with 5 or more acres are permitted as long as they are parked at least 50 feet away from any property line. In all residential zoning districts, the parking of the following commercial vehicles is permitted: an automobile, pickup truck, van, panel truck, or SUV used to provide daily transportation to and from work. A commercial vehicle that is parked temporarily on a street or on a private property in conjunction with a commercial service, sale, or delivery. However, overnight parking of such commercial vehicles is prohibited on any residential street. Construction vehicles and equipment on active construction sites include work in public right-of-way. No commercial vehicles used for hauling explosives, gasoline, or liquefied petroleum products are allowed to park in residential areas at any time. Penalty for failure to comply. Violations of this section will result in a civil citation to the tenant or owner occupant requiring payment of $25 fee for the first violation and a $50 fee for any subsequent violation within 5 business days or 7 calendar days after the first date of issue. If a second violation of this ordinance to any property owner occupier is issued after the first 5-day period has ended, subsequent violations may be issued for each consecutive day. If, when issuing a civil citation, compliance officers find that the property owner occupant has failed to remedy the parking within 5 business days, 7 calendar days, the property owner occupant will be issued a citation and a subpoena for a municipal court hearing. If the property owner occupant refuses to comply with this ordinance within 30 days of issuance of the first citation or upon violation of this ordinance at any subsequent time after the issue of the first violation and after the first 30 days have passed, the police department may apply to the city court for a warrant to seize such vehicle and remove it from the property. The cost of towing and storage shall be borne by the property owner occupant. Repealer. All city code provisions, zoning ordinance provisions, ordinances, parts of ordinances, or resolutions in conflict with provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed. If any of this ordinance is determined by a court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid, only such part of this ordinance declared to be invalid shall become void, and all other parts shall remain valid and enforceable. It is hereby declared to be the intention of the mayor and the council that all sections, paragraphs, sentences, clauses, and phrases of this ordinance are or were upon their enactment believed by the mayor and the council to be fully valid, enforceable, and constitutional. It is hereby declared to be the intention of the mayor and council that, to the greatest extent allowed by law, each and every section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is severable from every other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. It is hereby further declared to be the intention of the mayor and council that, to the greatest extent allowed by law, no section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is mutually dependent upon any other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. In the event that any phrase, clause, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance shall, for any reason whatsoever, be declared invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable by valid judgment or decree of any court of competent jurisdiction, it is the express intent of the mayor and the council that such invalidity, unconstitutionality, or unenforceability shall, to the greatest extent allowed by law, not render invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable any of the remaining phrases, clauses, sentences, paragraphs, or sections of the ordinance, and that to the greatest extent allowed by law, all remaining phrases, clauses, sentences, paragraphs, and sections of this ordinance shall remain valid, constitutional, enforceable, and in full force and effect.
There's no vote. Obviously, it's the first read, and we're going to further discuss, stated earlier. On to the next. This will be discussion and first reading of the unlawful discharge of firearms. Has everybody had an opportunity to review? All right. Any discussion over the unlawful discharge of firearms proposed in the ordinance?
You're gonna have a lot of upset people around 4th of July.
I see someone getting shot.
Right, I understand that. And
I agree.
again, driving the dog
Before we
crazy.
go up, come down.
There are a lot of people that take that around.
Yeah. And in our neighborhoods,
This
all
would-
of the neighborhoods.
This would only apply to the city limits of Pendergrass, obviously. So hopefully people aren't shooting their guns up in the air. Really hope not. So with no further discussion, we'll go with the first reading. Yeah.
This is ordinance number 062501, an ordinance to provide regulation for the control of weapons discharge, enhancing public safety, and for all other lawful purposes. Whereas the city of Pendergrass is a municipal corporation duly organized and existing under the laws of the state of Georgia, and whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city is the mayor and the council thereof, and whereas the city charter authorizes the city to enact ordinances for the safety and order of the city, and whereas the right to keep and bear arms is constitutionally protected, that municipalities have the right to restrict how and when people can use firearms, and whereas the city seeks to prevent people from randomly firing or discharging a weapon where such actions are deemed reckless and negligent, and whereas the reckless discharge of firearms for a celebrator shooting or firing may result in psychological or physical injury or the loss of life, and whereas the mayor and the city council through this ordinance desire to reduce the risk of gun-related accidents and injuries, thereby making the city a safer place, and whereas this ordinance is in the best interest of the health and general welfare of the city, its residents, and general public. Therefore, the mayor and the city council of the city of Pendergrass hereby ordains as follows. Section 1. The city of Pendergrass Code of Ordinances shall be amended to add Chapter 95, titled Unlawful Discharging of Firearms. This chapter, titled Unlawful Discharging of Firearms, shall read as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to discharge any firearm within the corporate limits of the city unless at a licensed shooting gallery or by the permission of the chief of police or a military parade or funeral. Nothing in this chapter shall prohibit the lawful use of a weapon for self-defense or the acquisition, possession, or disposition of weapons by the police department, sheriff's offices, marshal's offices, or other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, or the military and naval forces of the state or of the United States for use in the discharge of their official duties. Any person found guilty of violating the ordinance shall be punished by a fine of not more than $500 or 30 days in jail or both. The City of Pendergrass Code of Ordinances, Chapter Section 32, General Offenses, Chapter Section 32.102 is hereby repealed in its entirety. It is hereby declared to be the intention of the mayor and the city council that all sections, paragraphs, sentences, clauses, and phrases of this ordinance are or were upon their enactment believed by the mayor and the city council to be fully valid, enforceable, and constitutional. To the greatest extent allowed by law, each and every section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is severable from every other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. No section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is mutually dependent upon any other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. In the event that any phrase, clause, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance shall, for any reason whatsoever, be declared invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable by the valid judgment or decree of any court of competent jurisdiction, it is the express intent of the mayor and the city council that any such invalidity, unconstitutionality, or otherwise unenforceability shall, to the greatest extent allowed by law, not render invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable any of the remaining phrases, clauses, sentences, paragraphs, or sections of this ordinance. All ordinances and resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby expressly repealed.
Okay, so we have a first reading of the resolution to authorize me to sign an intergovernmental agreement for the 2024 transportation or law referendum. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the resolution as well as the materials attached? Okay, so I wanted to go over this with everybody, the way that T-SPLOST works. Assuming there is a referendum and there's an intergovernmental agreement made, any city official, or elected official, or employee of the city, and that includes the county or anybody else that's involved, we are not to advocate for or against. That is against the law. Just make sure everybody understands that.
So that we
We
can
You
not,
can't give your opinion
on T-SPLOST.
that's correct, at all. Make that very, very clear. So if somebody says, what do you think we should do? I think you should make your best judgment.
Okay.
You can give facts. So, in the order of the city of Pendergrass is who we are concerned with. The facts are we would use that money for resurfacing and other such projects that we have to spell out. But for the most part, the way that we hold our roads, it's mostly going to be resurfacing projects. But it also could have a case for sidewalks, curvatures, and of that effect. If you saw what the breakdown was, I think I just skipped on it, I apologize.
8%.
That's correct. The way that it's split up is by linear mileage.
The 332 doesn't get included into our streets, correct? Because that's GDOT.
It does, actually.
It does?
It does.
So we can have sidewalks on 332.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah, we can have sidewalks as long as the DOT approves that. Okay. That right away.
I got a quick question. How much power does the county have on what you do with that money?
What we do,
What the city does with that money?
I'm going to be very careful with what I say.
Could we wait until the work?
I believe the county could make us choose up to 30% of that money to go towards a capital project
Yes.
for state DOT. However, with that being said, the county is not doing that. If T-SPLOST were to be approved by the voters, Jackson County has already allocated a significant portion, which exceeds that 30% that is needed to approve a T-SPLOST to infrastructure projects.
Gotcha. And the only reason I ask is that it's such a small amount.
Yeah.
We're looking at it.
Every city will be able to use in this agreement their full, no, not pretty much, all of their agreed to percentage.
Good.
Every city and municipality will be able to use whatever their portion is to what they want, because Jackson County is already issuing and that they're over the 30% to these state DOT capital projects.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you.
The number is, the percentage is based off of linear miles, center line miles. Obviously, Pendergrass is small, right? So just by this being a transportation tax, the fairest way is what everybody agreed to, was to agree to that. So we have Jackson County, I'm just going to run through the numbers quickly, 71.3% approved by voters would go to Jackson County. Arcade would have 2.2%, Brazelton 2.5%, Commerce 7.4%, Pushton 2.3%, Jefferson 10.1%, Maysville 1%, Nicholson 1.9%, Pendergrass 0.8%, and Talmo 0.5%. To give an idea about what that would be, this would be over a 6-year time period. Oh, and part of it in Exhibit A, Jackson County forwarded us already what their capitalization would be within there, so I'm sure everybody noticed that.
You're talking about that 14
Correct. So if it's an allocation based on the collection of $200 million, which would be the full percentage over 6 years, Pendergrass would receive over that 6 years $1.6 million, where the county, in comparison, would receive the $142,600,000. I'm not going to go through everybody else's, but as you can tell, they can afford that capital project, which is why they've already committed to it. And it's in the county's hands to let that best interest. before we do the reading, do we have any other questions on T-Splosh? And to make clear what's more, we are not to, under any circumstance, to promote or deny T-Splosh as employees, government officials, or elected officials. I'm sure everybody's clear. By law. It's not me, it's law. Okay. Merry Christmas. Yes, ma'am.
This is a resolution to allow the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Pendergrass and Jackson County, Georgia, and the cities in Jackson County, Georgia, for the purpose of distributing any 2024 transportation special purpose local option sales tax proceeds should the voters adopt that tax. Whereas the Jackson County Board of Commissioners and the municipalities have determined that it would be beneficial to place a ballot question on the 2024 ballot asking the voters of Jackson County, Georgia to authorize a levy of 1% transportation special purpose local tax sale, local option sales tax, or T-Splosh, to be used for transportation improvement purposes. And whereas the county and the cities must enter into an intergovernmental agreement as to the distribution of any proceeds from this T-Splosh if it is approved by the voters. Whereas the mayor has updated the city council members on the developments and reasons for the request for T-Splosh agreement, and whereas the city council agrees that this intergovernmental agreement as to the distribution of any T-Splosh proceeds is in the best interest of the city of Pendergrass. Now therefore be it known that the city council hereby grants the mayor express permission to add a signature on behalf of the city council of Pendergrass as to that of the other mayors in Jackson County executing this agreement on behalf of the citizens of Pendergrass, Georgia.
I put first reading on the agenda, but this is a resolution. We don't need two readings. So I'm going to call for a motion to accept the resolution for the IGA. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Gabe. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Nathan. Roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All in favor of the present? Let me go ahead and get this passed down if I can. I'll finish that. We'll move on to the first reading and discussion of the ordinance to amend the city personnel policy. Does anybody have any questions about the personnel policy update? Yep.
This is an ordinance authorizing a revision of the extended medical leave policy relating to payments for the health insurance and retirement payments by the city to city employee personnel policy and procedures manual, and adopting same as the city personnel policy and procedures manual. Whereas the city of Pendergrass City is a municipal corporation duly organized and existing under the laws of the state of Georgia, and is charged with being fiscally responsible concerning the use and expenditure of public funds. And whereas Article 4, Sections 4-103A and B of the City Charter authorizes the mayor and City Council to establish by ordinance a system of personnel administration for the city to include insurance benefits and other measures that promote hiring and retaining of employees. And whereas the mayor and the City Council wish to revise the employee extended medical leave policy and readopt its personnel police and procedures manual. Therefore, the mayor and the City Council of the City of Pendergrass hereby resolve the extended medical leave paragraph in the city personnel manual is hereby amended to add the following paragraph as the policy of the city. The City of Pendergrass shall make no payment for the continuation of wages, health, life, and other insurance to or on behalf of any employee beyond 12 weeks when the employee is absent from work due to a serious health condition that prevents the employee from performing the essential functions of the employee's job or from being qualified to perform such duties other than the payments required under the Georgia's Workers' Compensation Statute. Notwithstanding the foregoing, nothing in this rule shall be construed to require the city to make such payments during the first 12 weeks of an employee's absence or thereafter. Section 2, the City of Pendergrass Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual is hereby adopted in full to include this addition. Section 3, if any such part of this ordinance is determined by a court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid, only such part of this ordinance declared to be invalid shall become void and all other parts shall remain valid and enforceable. It is hereby declared to be the intention of the mayor and the council that all sections, paragraphs, sentences, clauses, and phrases of this ordinance are or were of the mere enactment believed by the mayor and the council to be fully valid, enforceable, and constitutional. It is hereby declared to be the intention of the mayor and council that to the greatest extent allowed by law, each and every section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is severable from every other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. It is hereby further declared to be the intention of the mayor and council that to the greatest extent allowed by law, no section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is mutually dependent upon any other section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance. In the event that any phrase, clause, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance shall, for any reason whatsoever, be declared invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable by the valid judgment or decree of any court of competent jurisdiction, it is the express intent of the mayor and the council that such invalidity, unconstitutionality, or unenforceability shall, to the greatest extent allowed by law, not render invalid, unconstitutional, or otherwise unenforceable any of the remaining phrases, clauses, sentences, paragraphs, or sections of the ordinance, and that to the greatest extent allowed by law, all remaining phrases, clauses, sentences, paragraphs, and sections of the ordinance shall remain valid, constitutional, enforceable, and of full force and effect.
The good stuff. Next is going to be the first reading and discussion of the ordinance to adopt the Streets of Walnut Grove subdivision. This has been a long time waiting for Walnut Grove. If you talk to any of those citizens that live there, they're extremely excited about this. So, or at least the majority of them. Any discussions needed? We've been through this before a few different times. This council's been through it at least once. Last one.
Last one. I was thinking that y'all that one. This is ordinance number 06252-405. This is an ordinance to accept a right-of-way of deed to the Streets in Walnut Grove subdivision to provide for an effective date and for other purposes. Section 1, the governing authority of the City of Pendergrass hereby ordains as follows. Whereas municipal public roads in Georgia are legally created by dedication, by prescription, by the express grant of an easement, by deed, by special statutory proceeding, or by condemnation, OCGA
32-3-3, and whereas the importance and effects of public roads on the ownership of land and the operation of local government cannot be overstated. Public roads may fix one or more boundaries of a tract of land, determine the legal right of access to a tract, and may constitute an easement in the title across the interior of the tract. And whereas public roads are also a major function of local governments, which are generally obligated to maintain, repair, record, and enforce right-of-ways on public roads, OCGA Sections 9-621 and OCGA Section 32-3-1. And whereas generally a public road is defined in state law as a highway, road, street, avenue, toll road, tollway, drive, detour, or other way open to the public and intended or used for its enjoyment and for the passage of vehicles in any county or municipality of Georgia, including those public rights, structures, sidewalks, facilities, and appurtenances incidental to the construction, maintenance, and enjoyment of such rights of way. OCGA 32-13-24, and whereas the city recognizes that the highest level of state law governing municipal corporations is the Georgia Constitution of 1983 and its amendments, it is supreme to all general and local acts of the General Assembly as well as to city ordinances and resolutions. With respect to the sources of power for municipal corporations, some of the more significant provisions of the Georgia Constitution are the Home Rule provision, the Supplementary Powers provision, the Zoning provision, the Eminent Domain Clause, the Intergovernmental Contracts provision, and the Special District Clause and Gratuities Clauses. The Supplementary Powers provision is an important constitutional provision granting specific powers to cities. This provision spells out supplementary powers that municipalities and counties may exercise in addition to and supplementary to powers possessed by virtue of their charter and other local legislation. Specifically mentioned and included are the power to provide police and fire services, solid waste collection and disposal, public health facilities and services, street and road construction and maintenance, parks and recreational programs and facilities, storm, water, and sewage collection and disposal systems, water treatment and distribution, public housing, public transportation, and libraries. And whereas on record, public roads are those roads that have been established by express grant, express dedication, or by a government special statutory authority, such as through its condemnation or purchasing powers. OCGA 33-3-3, and whereas regarding public roads on record, local government authorities may expressly create public roads by statute by requiring roads via purchase, dedication, condemnation, donations, and the exchange of property. OCGA 21-12, OCGA 32-3-3, OCGA 441, OCGA 32-490, OCGA 32-492, and OCGA 36-34-3. The Georgia Official Code Section 32-3-3 provides local governments broad powers to accept donations, transfer, or devises of land from private and public entities in fee or lesser interest, enter into agreements with private persons for the exchange of real property or interest therein for public road purposes, acquire roads by prescription, and acquire roads by dedication. And whereas Walnut Grove Subdivision Homeowners Association, Inc., a Georgia corporation, in its capacity as the Homeowners Association of Walnut Grove Subdivision located within the city of Pendergrass, has petitioned the city of Pendergrass to accept by deed the streets listed in attached Exhibit A, attached hereto and as a part of the city of Pendergrass street infrastructure. This dedication is made by deed, and the grantor, the grantee, and the public are all parties to the transaction. The intent to dedicate these streets is manifested by a deed. This deed is from the dedicator to the city, and whereas sidewalks in this subdivision are also considered a part of the public road. the Atlanta Muffler Shop versus McSwain, 98 Georgia Appeal, 722 and 1958 case. Sidewalks are intended as public thoroughfares, and any person or corporation placing obstructions on or over them in such a manner as to render them dangerous to persons using them in a normal manner is guilty of negligence. As noted in the statutory definition of a public road, a public roadway includes all structures, sidewalks, facilities, and appurtenances incidental to the construction, maintenance, and enjoyment of such rights of way. OCGA 3213. Accordingly, the width of a public right-of-way is determined by deed, and whereas the public right-of-way may also be affected by the local government and abutting property owners to keep the right-of-way free of encroachment. OCGA 3261. It shall be unlawful for any person to obstruct, encroach upon, with the sale of any merchandise on or injure materially any part of the public road. OCGA 3262. Authority to regulate parking and unattended vehicles on the public roads. Crider versus Kelly. 232 Georgia 616 1974. Finding that the DOT can require removal of any obstruction placed without express permission on the road within a state system, and governing body of municipality can require removal of any such obstruction placed on city streets not on the state system. The city recognizes that courts have found unauthorized encroachments as constituting an unlawful nuisance, including fuel tanks. Found at Williamson versus Suter, 172 Georgia, 364, a 1931 case. Pay telephones, found with the city of Dalton versus Staten, 201 Georgia, 754, 1947. Newsstands, McGrill versus the city of Atlanta, 32 Georgia, Appeal 5, 1924. And piles of debris. Harbour versus Richland Box Company, 204 Georgia, 352, 1948. Thus, any unauthorized immobile structure on a public road may constitute a public nuisance. Smith versus Hiawassee Hardware Company, 167 Georgia Appeal 70, 1983. Structures on a private property adjoining road right-of-ways only become unlawful if they obstruct clear view of roads in such a manner as to constitute a traffic hazard and they are unauthorized. That's Williams versus Scruggs Company, 213 Georgia Appeals 470, 1994, finding that plaintiff was unable to show that the allegedly vision obstructing debris and heavy equipment located on the defendant's property was unauthorized. The city recognizes that any right-of-way is also influenced by local government's power to regulate and maintain utility lines. Local governments are authorized by statute to license the use of city and county streets for the transmission of utilities and for the street railway, so long as the use of the public generally is not unreasonably interfered with. OCGA 32442. A county may grant permits and establish reasonable regulations for the installation, construction, maintenance, removal, and relocation of pipes, mains, conduits, cables, wires, poles, towers, traffic, and other signals and other equipment, facilities, or appliances of any utility in, on, along, over, or under the public roads of the county. OCGA 36342. The regulation of the utilities by municipalities. Now, therefore, be it ordained and resolved by the mayor and the city council of Pendergrass, Georgia, that the city, on behalf of the citizens of Pendergrass, accepts the express offer of the Walnut Grove Homeowners Association, Incorporated, in its capacity as owner of the Homeowners Association of the Walnut Grove Subdivision, a deed to the roads in Walnut Grove Subdivision, to the city, and accepts by deed the road in Walnut Grove Subdivision per the attached Exhibit A incorporated herein by reference. And be it further ordained that the mayor and the city council finds the property owner has dedicated to the city by deed the streets attached in Exhibit A, and that the public authority, being the mayor and the city council of the city of Pendergrass, does hereby accept these streets as deeded, thereby creating public streets within the corporate city limits of Pendergrass, Georgia. Be it further ordained that the city of Pendergrass hereby requires a fee simple title to these roadways via this going to be OCGA 3243, OCGA 32441, OCGA 32490, and OCGA 32492, and OCGA 3634.
Are you gonna go through all these today?
Yeah. Yes, I'm going to do my very best Samuel Jackson.
It's only, I don't know, 22 pages, 34, 34 pages.
It's very stimulating.
It is. I'll go to sleep on that. Just keep going.
I got 38.
Yep, I'm running 38 pages.
That? 37.
38 minus,
blank.
38 minus 4. On the function set.
All right. Last thing is something that I put on kind of last minute. Our very own Crystal Hendricks put on a great event this past Saturday at our Pendergrass cemetery here. I asked Crystal if she'd kind of give a recap of that event. It was also highlighted in the Jackson Herald this past week. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you were highlighted in the Jackson Herald. Actually, were I think top 3 news articles. So congratulations. That's really cool. But I'm so happy that you did it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. I had a graduation to attend to. But it was absolutely inspiring. We talked a little bit about it, and so I wanted to highlight it here. So give a recap of your event, and I wanted to discuss a little bit further about how we can maybe expound on this.
Okay. Well, I had the chance to volunteer in Gainesville to kind of they do the crosses down Green Street and at Veterans Memorial Park. So it kind of inspired me that I wanted to do something in our community. So I put it on Facebook that we were going to gather, ordered a whole bunch of flags put out, and we had about 18 to 20 people come volunteer to put flags on our cemetery right here at Baptist Church. I know that there's other cemeteries around, but we were kind of just focusing in the city here, but I wouldn't mind growing that. I would love to do the cross thing and put on down our road here, maybe for next year, kind of on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, that kind of thing. Definitely going to take some planning and volunteers, but it's something that I feel really passionate about. I have a lot of family members that are in the military, were in the military, things like that. So pretty special to me to honor them. And I think it's just a great way to honor them, so people see it when they ride through our community.
That's right.
Did you want me to discuss? I gave you all a little packet here that kind of has some ideas because the Rotary is who does it in Gainesville. I'm pretty sure we have a Rotary here, but just as our little city, I think we could do it ourselves somehow. But there's like a sample form of what people fill out and what's required. They do charge a fee just to maintain the crosses and things like that. It's a one-time fee. They require that you live in the county, I guess, in all counties. But, you know, I think if you have a loved one, you don't necessarily have to live here. If you have a loved one here that you'd like to memorialize. I don't know. I just have a lot of thoughts about it.
I'd love to lean into this 110%. I think in the initial phase of this, especially since we have so many veterans in our cemetery here, they're not going to be donating, obviously. So I think that we can even raise money. I know I'd be happy to donate. I know many others would also be happy to donate. There's community members that can help us with the manufacturing of these crosses or whatever religion that they. I know in Duluth they have Star of David as well as crosses. So I know that we can get community members and not make this a staff event. That's a great idea. We could even take donations on the 4th of July for this type of program. initiative. I love that it was done by citizens. I know that you're an elected official, but you're obviously also a citizen, and it wasn't paid for by taxpayer money. This was purely citizen-driven and donated, and I'm super proud. I'm super happy. The volunteers that are around here, I'm just so happy about this, and I think that we should really lean into this hard and go further.
It really was a great event, and, you know, I got to meet a lot of people that I had not met yet, and there's just so much history for people that have been here a long time, and they were just sharing so much history that day. And it was hot as you think, but it was a great turnout.
I can say one thing. One thing we did have a hard time was finding some of the veterans. So if there's a way to put more effort into finding all the veterans that are in the cemetery or whatever veterans that are here at Pendergrass would be amazing. I know there's more than 38.
Well, our list here that I printed out on Find a Grave, which is what people just contribute to, there were 59 here between Mountain Creek Baptist, Pendergrass Baptist, and I think Holly Springs United Methodist. So there's 59 here. And they have like their little headstones. Like this Find a Grave thing is very, very helpful.
I think that we could probably get Grace Hacker involved in this, and I think that she would be very passionate about this project as well, as the city historian. So teamwork makes the dream work, and I think that we can really make this big. And I don't think that we should necessarily limit it to just Pendergrass. I think Jackson County, we're a relatively small county, and we could definitely kind of lead into this.
I just know in Gainesville, we put out 258 crosses that day, and it literally, there was probably, I don't even think there was 20 of us, maybe. But it literally took us less than 2 hours to do. I mean, we all just kind of had a part, and everybody just contributed. They built like this thing to hold the crosses. They were all in order. Like the lady over the Rotary had them numbered and categorized. And so if somebody called and said, you know, where is my person's whatever, she could tell them where it was. I mean, it was really, really intricate.
Yeah.
I don't know that we could go that intricate, but it was a really good system the way they did it.
Today, we don't need to be that intricate, maybe, but I think if we start the system today, even though we don't necessarily need it, because I think this is going to become an incredibly powerful and great program. So I think we plan on that going forward.
Especially putting it out twice a year, like you said, Memorial Day and Veterans Day, it's great.
Oh, from the side note.
I'm sorry.
The Wreaths, I said it on a side note, the lady was there from Wreaths Across America. She also stated that we could, she gave me her card so we could contact her if we wanted to do that during the holidays where they put the wreaths on wreaths as well. So there's a lot of different outreach things that we could do. Honestly.
Again, thank you so much, Crystal. Sorry.
You do a storyboard. My daughters were encouraging me, and what they would be like one year they had a car show. They did a storyboard for the what they were collecting funds for, and had a donation thing. And you would be amazed at how much money you raise, just as long as it's clearly stated what you're doing it for, what it's about. Lots of money.
Well, I know, like on this, I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to Find a Grave, but they have these little like asterisks, and you can literally click on it, and it brings up like their bio and pictures. And, I mean, some of these are from like 1907,
I wonder if
1916. Like, there's a lot of history, so that would be really neat.
Right.
I mean, to do a storyboard, I could find a whole bunch off of this,
that would be so good for Grace to have too. To create that digital photograph.
It was very rewarding, I will say that.
Thank you so much, Crystal. At this time, is there any public comment?
Thank you. And I thought you did.
I was glad to help out.
All right, with that.
All right. What?